Hi there, I'm Claire from Claire Chancellor Coaching. Today what I want to talk about is the Major Arcana cards. Now these are the most impactful cards within the entire deck. There's 22 in total and we start off our journey with 0. It can be a little bit confusing when it comes to the numbers, but these cards are the ones that signify that spirit is heavily involved in the sequence and the patterns that are going on in life at the moment. When these cards come up, take notice, because the spirit world is heavily influenced in moving you on the chessboard of life. Now, when you compare these to the minor arcana cards, the minor arcana represent the day-to-day challenges. So it's neither here nor there. Take notice of the lessons, but spirit's sort of watching back. Your guides are there with their clipboards, just checking in, compared to the major arcana. And it's like, yep, spirit's involved, big deal. Take notice. So what I want to do today is I want to take you through the Fool's journey of the entire deck. Now, the Fool, as crazy as it sounds, is the Fool represents you. The Fool must go on a journey throughout the chapters of life, the cycles of life, and the patterns of life to learn about compassion, kindness, that inner strength, and to be able to get to the end of that life cycle to then be able to start all over again. Lucky us. So when you think about like the tarot, when you think about numerology and we see the numbers go from 1 to 9, and each year is like a different lesson, the lessons of the 1s, the 2s, the 3s, the 4s, get to the 9s, and then it's like, okay, you're going to have to teach what you've learned and start all over again at the next level. The tarot, the major arcana are exactly the same. So what I want to share with you today is the Fool's journey, as I've said. And so let's begin at 0 with the Fool. Now, the Fool is here. He starts the journey and he doesn't actually know what's ahead of him. He's kind of carefree, enthusiastic, minimally prepared, and yet completely naive to take a leap of faith, like to jump off that cliff and just see where life takes us. He's trusting in this new beginning. Now, as the Fool moves through on his journey, he comes across the Magician. The Magician is like a mentor. The Magician is someone who teaches him the masculine how-to of the doing in this material world, or this physical world, I should say. The Magician teaches the Fool about all the tools that are available to him. The pentacle, the wands, the swords, and the cups there. The Magician will teach him all about the earthly elements here, on how to grow and expand. And that's, after all, that's all the Fool actually wants to do, is that spiritual journey to grow and evolve. When the Fool starts moving towards the High Priestess, he encounters this pure, beautiful, strong, feminine energy. And she's all about the being rather than the doing of the masculine. She meets him at the Temple of Solomon's Gates, and she has the secrets to the divine power within. She is able to really listen and understand and help the Fool listen into his intuition. He has to admit that he doesn't actually know how to use these tools yet. He's still a little bit immature. So she has to enhance his intuition so that he can start trusting himself and moving along life's path. As he continues, we are then introduced to the Empress and the Emperor. These represent the feminine and the masculine, but this time they represent the mother and the father. The mother of the nurturing and the giving and the wanting to protect by sort of embracing and holding that nest. And the Emperor, the father of installing rules, security, groundedness, and protection in more of a firmer masculine way. As the Fool, embraces this family unit, he learns what he needs to about that nurturing and the doing, and he starts to free himself by going out into the world, becoming part of society. It's within this that the Fool has to leave home and start to question everything that his parents have taught him. He comes across great teachers within schools, churches, and all of that kind of guidance that's going to help him in society. We see that with the Hierophant there. And the Hierophant's going to guide and give him understandings and lessons that he will need throughout his whole journey to really unlock the key to life, to feel fulfilled in this amazing reality. Then the Fool will move away from the schools, away from the church. He now has that passion within him, a plan set in mind, exactly the steps that he wants to create that are that are important to him. However, when we come to the Lover's card, the Fool is now at a point in time where he has to make a choice. Is he going to choose the path that he was originally on, the path that's mapped out, blueprinted right in front of him? Or is he going to choose love? Is he going to choose the consequences that come with love? Is he going to be tempted or tempted to follow this new light? Or will he follow his old truth? Now, the choice is yours when it comes to the Fool. But as we carry forward with the Fool, we then move to the next chapter of the Chariot. Decisions have been made, things have been set in stone. Okay, it's time to master himself, it's time to claim his victory, it's time to move out into the world and, hear him roar, because he has such a belief in himself and the strength, the outer strength of where he is going. Get out of his way. But of course, we can only exert this much external strength until we need that internal strength. Life hits us hard and we need to take a time out. That's where we come across that Strength card. Now, Strength is going to teach us about that internal resilience. Time to reflect inward. Time to find that inner strength. And so the Fool is really starting to build his self-mastery, right? The angel starts to bring him back to his truth of who he is and where he needs to go. It's a little bit like they've given him a kick up the bum, wake up to yourself, where are you going? And so with this internal peace sitting there, the Fool now decides it's time to retreat from all of the noise, from all of the chaos, all of the doing, all of the learning. I actually just need to go away and integrate this into me. And so he travels up a hill, not just any hill, he travels up a really big mountain. It's some time out for himself to really reflect on everything that he's learned. And as he travels up that mountain, he crosses paths with the Hermit. Now, the Hermit is him in a future self. His knapsack is now turned into the lantern of light, and he looks backwards into the past to reflect on where he's been, how he's got here to the top. And there's a sort of a yearning inside to work out what is the plan next. As he talks to his wiser self and he starts to bring light within, it's now time for him to start to continue on his journey, where he encounters the Wheel of Fortune. Now here, with the energy of the Wheel of Fortune, he has to start to surrender that, to be part of change really means he needs to know what he wants moving forward. The minute that he starts to encounter with this change, it becomes consequence, and he is at cause of what he's going to create. Now, knowing the Wheel of Fortune, it also reminds us that we have to move within the laws of being here in the world. Not the human laws, but the law of gravity, the law of attraction, so on and so forth. We need to keep this in mind when we're planning and moving ahead. It's time. Is it winter? Is it time to, to take a time out? Or is it spring and it's time to plant your seeds, really enjoy that blossoming energy? This is what the Wheel of Fortune reminds us. Now, as the Fool starts to question, life's ups and downs, the cycles where he's fit in, where he's tried to force things to happen, he comes across the Justice card. Now, the Justice card is going to remind him that he needs to take responsibility. He needs to start to identify where some of his hard knocks have hurt other people. And so the Fool now crosses paths with the Hanged Man. The hangman there, upside down, requires the Fool to look at things in a new light. He has to undo some of those limiting beliefs. He has to undo some of those shoulds that he was taught by the Emperor. He has to undo some of those limiting beliefs that were taught by the Empress. This is his journey, his rules. He gets to decide how he moves forward. And so as the Hanged Man there gets him to have that experience of the enlightenment, like that aura, that's like, okay, now I need to know how I'm going to do this now moving forward once more. We then come across the Death card. And it's the Death card here that wakes us up to a new beginning. It's a transition where we close the chapter on the old us, the old me, the old fool, and start to grieve and let go of the old ways to make way for the new ways, the exciting ways, what's to come. The Death card there, it just reminds us that this is a transition that's necessary. Enjoy it, just, embrace it. And so as we start to embrace that new transition, the Archangel Michael from the Temperance card, he comes in with great healing, great messages, great knowledge. And it's just about teaching us how to find our path forward. As he moves down the mountain that we once met the hermit, we're making our way down off the mountain. As he comes down a little bit too much, he finds himself in a black hole. Now, the black hole is where we meet the devil. The Fool is surrounded by temptation and sin. The Fool is not forced to stay here, but there's that addiction to the drama, to the chaos, to the promises. And when he looks around at everybody else there, it's like no one's actually forced to stay here. Everyone has a choice, but they're not willing to do the hard work to break free from the old patterns. Thankfully, though, the Fool does. The Fool does wake up to this. When we're in the Major Arcana of the Devil card, it can be a really turbulent time. It's almost like going through the dark night of the soul. When we then move into the Tower, our foundations crumble out from underneath us and we have to reestablish who actually we are without all of that material necessity, the emphasis on the the wealth that we've built, the security that we've built. It's all an illusion according to the Fool. When we take this away, who are we really? Who am I without my home, my car, my dog, my business? Who am I without all of that external noise? And that chapter there, the Tower, it will pull away everything that's known to you so you wake up to that true, authentic version of yourself. Now that's when the Fool starts to look up to the stars. And we're looking for guidance. We're looking for that help from our spirit world. We just get the messages from the spirit world then that it's time again to bring in healing, to be the star of our own show, to start making promises to ourselves and actually keep to them. It's with this that the moon starts to shine and all of our ego stuff starts to come to the surface. The moon is all about the illusions of the unconscious mind, and the moon is going to put a shadow on our path that makes it really quite difficult to work through what is the truth and what is the illusion. So this is the next chapter for the Fool, is working through that. Thankfully, the sun shines the next day. And with the Major Arcana, hopefully it is the next day. But the sun promises new warmth, new healing, new excitement. The Fool crosses paths with the child there on the horse. And the child wants to know all of the questions, all of the answers, everything to life. Tell me, play with me, And yet the Fool knows the value of experience. So he comes down to the child's level and listens and plays and brings that sparkle and that radiance back to his life. It's the child there that reminds us to go back to the beginnings where we were naive and creative and just wanted to play. And so with that youthful kind of energy, we thank that child. And the Fool then moves into the Judgment. He's at a crossroads now. He's experienced what it's like to have that playfulness and the seriousness and the heavy masculine and the divine feminine, all of those lessons. We're at a crossroads. And the question is, do you want to stay here in this energy? Or do you want to see what happens in the next chapter? Now, to stay in that energy, even though you've mastered everything, you know, it's still going to kind of stifle us, because in life, if you aren't growing, you are rotting. And so while there might be resistance and to say, well, look what I've invested, you know, I have to hold on to this. The Judgment card is actually saying it's time to change, transform once more. And with that step and that decision, the Fool then enters into the space of the world. He's entered into that stage where the world is literally at the bottom of his feet, feeling protected, feeling that sense of victory. It's time to celebrate. He's achieved what he needed to. And it's a little bit like he's learned everything that he needed to, and it's time to give back. It's time to teach somebody else those lessons, not necessarily to tell them what to do, but to teach them about what's possible. And so with that particular cycle, the cycles all start again after that ending. The cycles all start again, and there's a new beginning, and the Fool starts all again. Can you believe it? So the story of the Fool, it's all about self-mastery, spiritual growth, spiritual evolution. And once you've learned everything that you needed to here, you know, your soul is going to help those here and in the spirit world take things to the next level. It's really exciting. So I want you to have a think about when you're, you know, looking at the tarot cards, when a Major Arcana card comes up, you know, reflect on where you are in your journey, where you've been, what's coming up next, because these patterns within the tarot, they are really predictable. So Major Arcana, take notice of them, spirits involved. No doubt they're probably laughing at us and our the way we turn really big, serious challenges into massive milestones in our mind. And the spirit world saying, you know, learn it really easily, quickly, and you can move to the next chapter. So I make a bit of fun of that, but I hope that helps. I hope that gives you a bit of clarity into where the Fool is going next. I'm Claire from Claire Chancellor Coaching, and I look forward to talking to you soon.